Hi kids, it's Mr. Hammond. I want you to go to the next available page in your science notebook because today we're talking about one of my favorite ecosystem concepts, decomposers. So on your next available page, whatever page that may be, and the very top we're going to make the title real simple. We're just going to call it Decomposers. These are notes, decomposer notes. That's what we're doing. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is the fact of what decomposers do. Decomposers, you want to start on the left-hand side over here to give yourself some room because we're going to be writing like 3 or 4 things around here and filling up the page. They break down, and we don't say decomposers eat because they don't really eat. They break things down. They break down waste into nutrients. Now, what are some examples of decomposers? Well, worms are examples of decomposers. I'll draw my friend the worm. If you've ever read Richard Scarry, one of my favorite ones is Lowly the worm. So I'll put a little top hat on the guy and then give him some. There we go. And this includes other types of insects. So they're not the only ones. You have millipedes, centipedes, things like that. Fungi, which would be mushrooms and other type of fungi, are another very large group of decomposers. And then the other one are super tiny, microscopic. It would take something like a microscope to see some of these guys. And those would be bacteria. So those are just 3 big categories of decomposers. They break down waste or things that are dead and turn them into nutrients. And then that nutrients is then used by plants to grow. So plants use nutrients to grow. Don't forget, as we go over this, if I'm moving too quick, just pause, catch up the writing, and then continue. For this, I'm going to draw a little plant, 2 little leaves. And then a little flower. There we go. There's my plant. Man, those leaves are coming straight out from the sides. Okay, so plants use nutrients to grow because that nutrients gets into the soil, and as they absorb the water through the soil, they get the nutrients as well. And they need different things like calcium and some other minerals to help themselves grow. That's oftentimes why we have to add fertilizer to our soil. Okay, so those plants are eventually eaten or consumed by, consumers. So the consumers eat plants, and those guys are oftentimes herbivores and omnivores, okay? Then those consumers are eaten by other consumers, what would be an example of a good one that would eat a plant? We could do a bunny. Let's do a bunny over here, right? So I'm going to make a little bunny foo-foo. Just a little bunny foo-foo right over here. His little cottontail and his big ears. And I'll put the 2 big teeth. There we go. Kind of a weird bunny foo-foo, right? And then consumers eat consumers. And for this one, I'm just going to draw my friend Biff. Angry fish because he has that large underbite. And eventually, all of these things that are consumers and even some of the plants, once they die, as these things die off, they all go back and are cleaned up by the decomposers. So eventually, everything comes back to the decomposers. And what a great thing they do because they clean up our ecosystem. That's what decomposers do. Can you imagine if they weren't here? I mean, it stinks that they're here because they make bread go bad and they make your milk go sour and all those things. That's bacteria that gets into food and starts to decompose it. That's why at some point you can't eat things because they have mold on it. But what they also do is clean things up. And if there were no decomposers, think about all the dead things that would still be here because nothing was able to break them down and turn them into something else. Which brings up another point. You could kind of call decomposers the great recyclers. So that's a little bit about decomposers. All right, now that the coloring's done, let's talk about your homework. So your homework tonight is going to be to do a little research on Brain Pop by watching the Brain Pop. On the food chain. Okay, and I'd like you to use sketch note taking to fill the page with notes. What can you learn about food chains? Write down as much information as you can. Draw pictures, draw text boxes, whatever it is going to help you connect with the information in that Brain Pop. All right, guys, good luck, and I'll be excited to talk to you about it tomorrow.